Boise State's Broncos out of the Mountain West
seed.
won their first Mountain West tournament title, make their first NCAA tournament appearance.
I'll kind of mute this a little bit. What's going on, everybody? This is, of course, your boy Bernie here on The Charge, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors. Well, not really NBA today. We are going to talk about Selection Sunday today, guys. Welcome to Selection Sunday. Of course, guys, if you don't know, NCAA tournament is just around the corner, and I'm going to be opening up a public one. So if you want to join my NCAA tournament bracket, just put in the comment section your email, and I will make sure to add you to this, and it's going to be a fun one. Of course, we are just now looking at the West region, and it is currently getting unlocked.
And of course, black regular title, they won
and you know, we got to get right into it. So right now we've already seen our bracket so far. We have Gonzaga, the overall #1 seed. They're going to be in the same bracket as Boise State, Memphis, which should be a good matchup, Uconn, New Mexico State, Arkansas, and Vermont. Again, great matchups there in this tournament. So this is what we have so far for our bracket. If you guys can see here on the Western region, I will zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit more.
San Diego, California, Friday and Sunday.
And now we got the West region again. 6 and 11, we got Alabama and San Diego.
Jaden Shackelford leads the Tide, averaging nearly 17 points a game.
Let's see here.
Play the winner of the first 4 game in Dayton, Ohio.
All right, we got a first 4 in game. Rutgers and Notre Dame. That's going to be an interesting one.
For only the second time in school history, the Scarlet Knights make consecutive NCAA tournament appearances.
So the Rutgers, I don't even know, the Scarlet Knights, they're in right now as of all currently as things stand. So we'll see how this thing goes. It'll be interesting to see. You know, Alabama really didn't have the best of season, even though they played a very tough game against Gonzaga. A couple at the beginning of the season. It just, you know, I didn't think it really clicked very well for them. So it does kind of suck that they are they're reeling and now they got to play a kind of a pretty average, mediocre team. Okay, and then we got here Texas Tech is the #3 seed taking on Montana State. Bobcats, obviously, great program, great tradition there in Montana State. Going against Texas Tech again, another good team. You know, that kind of struggled a little bit. And then you got Michigan State there at the #7. And who are they going to be facing? They're going to be facing Davidson. If you guys know, the Davidson-Richmond game was a very good game earlier in the morning, guys. I don't know if you guys were watching the A10 or tournament, but that was a great game between those two teams. And I think Davidson probably were the biggest losers of that one because they were the #1 seed. And I think if you do that, I think you're going to be in a region where you don't have to play against Gonzaga. But Duke is going to be in the Western region. Very interesting. Duke in the Western region. You heard that here first, ladies and gentlemen. Duke in the Western region to go in against CS Fullerton.
This team has shown itself in some of its losses. That's going to be the question. Can they grow up enough each game they play in the tournament to handle some of the better teams if they advance?
Meanwhile, who will they face?
Who they're going to face? They're going to be facing CS Fullerton. Obviously, we talked about that earlier. It's going to be a good one. I think this side of the bracket is going to be very interesting indeed. I mean, again, we got Uconn, New Mexico State, going to be a great game. I mean, I think this is going to be a very competitive, because the reason why I say this, and I'm just going to mute Brian Gumble for a second, and mute these guys. The reason why I think this is going to be a very exciting, an exciting NCAA tournament compared to many years prior is because this has been the most, I would say, filled of parity that I've ever seen before in an NCAA tournament. Obviously, when it comes to one and done tournaments, it's hard to, I would say, you know, upsets are bound to happen, right? Because if you play a team one time, you can run different things, you can run different sets, and it causes this sort of chain reaction of we don't know what to do when we have that. And so, to me, I think this is going to be a fun bracket. You're going to have teams in there. Like, I think Texas Tech could have a good shot. I think they have a pretty good talented roster, so I'm curious to see what's going to be going on there. Michigan State, obviously coached by Tom Izzo, one of the best coaches in the nation. I think to his fault though, going to more of the Michigan State side, and then why I think I have Davidson is because I think Michigan State, when Tom Izzo, I think he is past the point of his coaching. I'm not saying that he's like past his prime, but when I see his coaching style, it's very slow, it's very methodical. It's not a style where I'm very excited to see. Really, there's no. I would say that my frustration with Michigan State and really some Big Ten schools, and you know, Cuffs the Legend talked about it in his tweet, so shout out to him for mentioning it. And I kind of agreed with it once I kind of reviewed it a little bit more, kind of trying to form my own opinion. It seems to be overcoached, and it does feel like Michigan State is overcoached at times, and why I feel like in some of their games, they could have been going up and down the court, but instead, they didn't go up and down the court. They were more so kind of like walking it up, not really doing too much, and that to me is where the frustration comes from. And so right now it's looking pretty good for the other brackets. Again, the number 1 overall seed in the whole of the NCAA is, of course, Gonzaga. You guys already know that. I think it was obvious that they were going to be because, I think the other teams didn't do their jobs in terms of winning the games that they needed to. And so when they don't win their games and when stuff like that happens, you're going to end up with the situation here where they're going to be struggling. And so, again, to review the bracket one more time, we got Gonzaga versus Georgia State, 1-16. Boise State, Memphis, 8-9. Uconn versus New Mexico, 5-12. You got Vermont and Arkansas, 4-13. You got Alabama taking on either, I believe, what was it? It was Rutgers or Notre Dame. So that's going to be a battle between those two teams, and the winner gets to play Alabama. I'm not sure if their Force 4 is. Nope, they don't have that matchup in there. And then you got Texas Tech, Montana State. You got Michigan State, Davidson, Duke versus CS Fullerton. I'll be very curious to see if Michigan State does beat Davidson, what that matchup is going to look like for Duke and Michigan State. Again, I think Duke, a very beatable team. I think that they've kind of rested on their laurels a little bit when it comes to this stuff. And so when I see it, it's just, I think that I am concerned about Duke going forward. I think they're a good team. I think Paulo Banchero's the real deal, but I worry about their chemistry as a unit. It doesn't seem like they play together. It seems like they're very far apart from the games that I have watched. From watching about 4 or 5 of their games. Obviously, you need to watch an entire season to really get a better understanding of this team. But from the 4 and 5 games that I watched, it doesn't seem like they play as a cohesive unit. And it seems that in Coach K's final season, it's not looking too pretty. But nevertheless, we are going to continue watching Selection Sunday. Of course, guys, this is not brought to you by any sponsor besides The Charge, bringing you the latest NBA news and rumors and basketball opinions. And I think we will talk a little bit more about some NBA stuff as soon as this NCAA March Madness Final Four bracket has been revealed. Again, I'm going to be quickly making a tournament bracket that you guys can join, and I will give you guys kind of the link to it. So let me do that really quick as we wait for kind of the Selection Sunday and see what's going to be going on here. I think from the bracket listed, I think it's going to be I'm trying to think of who's really going to be. I mean, again, they have Gonzaga, obviously, as the number 1 seed. They have Baylor as another number 1 seed. I'm not convinced with Baylor so far this season. They have had way too many losses for me, and I just don't, when I look at it. Yes, you have Duke in your bracket, Sean. I just saw your text message. You do have Duke in your bracket. They're at the bottom, though, so obviously you won't play them until you get to the final quattro. Actually, no, sorry. You'll be playing the, final. Sorry, not Final Four. What is that, the Elite Eight? Yeah, you'll be playing them in the Elite Eight.
And the Bryant Bulldogs.
All right, we got our second seed, Arizona versus, I guess, Bryant Bulldogs. I haven't really done my research on this team. Do you like Arizona to win? Arizona right now is playing absolutely incredible. Tar Heel Nation, shout out to you, man. I know you were probably reveling in the fact that Coach K lost his final game. I do like Arizona a lot. I do like them to make the Final Four because they play the same style of basketball that Gonzaga does, obviously with their assistant coach, former Gonzaga Bulldog, to Mark Few. I like their team. They have a lot of great guards. I think Ben Mathurin is a great player, and obviously an NBA lottery draft pick. So I do like this team, and I do think that they can go very far. My only concern is once their guards are in foul trouble, I think their backup guards are a little shaky, in my opinion, and so we'll see how that goes. And again, we just got released some other sides of the bracket, and I will hopefully be able to move this to the side. All right, we got Arizona taking on one of the first 4 in games, and it's going to be Seton Hall versus TCU. Always a great matchup, TCU. We now have Houston officially in there taking on UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. So this is going to be a very fun game to watch. So it's going to be, the Arizona game is going to be either Wright State or Bryant in that first 4-in game.
And they're making their first tournament appearance since 2015. Third team out of the Big Ten is the number 4 seed, the Fighting Illini.
And then we got Illinois taking on. Who's going to be the 13 seed for them to take on? Tar Heel Nation, who do you got winning this tournament?
10 rebounds.
Chattanooga State. University of Chattanooga. That's exciting for them, man. Win the Southern Tournament, the Mocks. I'm not sure what a mock is. I think is that a bird? Looks like a bird. Interesting. But Chattanooga. Interesting. They say they got a build of a Power 5 school. Interesting.
All right, guys, let's move on now.
Let's go. Who's going down on the bracket? We got 6. We got Colorado State. 25-5. I mean, it looks like they're pretty good, man. I mean, again, I haven't done my research on all these teams, obviously. I've done the select few teams that I've been like, okay, yeah, I kind of know their system. Like Richmond and the Davidson game, I think that was a fun one to watch, and I really did my research on them. Michigan, very interesting. Again, Michigan struggled this year, obviously coming back from a Final Four.
First 4 out.
I'm trying to think what the terminology would be. Like I do, coming back from where they were a year ago to where they're at now, it just seems like they've taken such a downhill, and it's just replacing guys and trying to get guys to come back in. Juwan Howard is doing his job there. Again, I didn't like how everything shook out in that situation. I think both coaches were wrong though in that sense, and it just we just gotta just stay chill. It's for the kids anyway. It's for the players. It's not for us to kind of get in there and make our presence known and name known. But anyway, we got Tennessee versus Longwood. The Longwood Lancers. Their first ever NCAA tournament. Not bad. Let's see what's going on for the next seed. We got Ohio State. Interesting. We got Ohio State. Who are they going to take on?
Nice seed for the Buckeyes there, and a comfortable
see who they take on really quick.
Out of the Missouri Valley Conference.
They're going to take on Loyola Chicago. Again, Loyola Chicago.
That is not comfortable.
That's going to be a tough game, man. I keep talking about Ohio State, and I keep looking at them, and they just continue to disappoint me every time I look at them in the tournament. I always try to pick them in basketball, but it's just hard. And then you got Villanova. Let's see who they're going to take on. Villanova is going to take on Delaware. Delaware is the official matchup. And again, I will show you guys this side of the bracket so you guys can see here. Let me see if I can move it really quick. Here we go. I'll move my camera in just a second. Let me see what my camera is. Webcam. Let me turn it off for a second. Again, so you guys can see here, I'm going to turn my webcam back on, but we got Arizona either taking on Wright State, or I can't remember the other teams that they were going to take on. But we got Seton Hall, TCU, Houston, University of Alabama, Birmingham, Illinois versus Chattanooga, Colorado State versus Michigan, Tennessee versus Longwood, Ohio State versus Loyola Chicago. Going to be a really tight game in that one. And then you got Villanova versus Delaware.
This guy can put it up and put it in, and so that'll be a real challenge for Houston. A remarkable job by Houston this season under the losing Marcus Sasser and Tremont Mark. Calvin Sampson did a phenomenal job, and that team is playing some of its best basketball here in the last week.
Let me be clear. The Chattanooga Mocs are going to the Sweet 16. I think it pairs up well for them. I know Illinois had the disappointment of last year, and then, Villanova was hoping to get to Philadelphia. Didn't happen. Clark, don't pay attention. Loyola's going to beat Ohio State in the first round, and Tennessee, I think it sets up well for them to go into the Elite Eight.
Well, I know the Buckeyes want to get healthy. Having a start on Friday, an added day, should help them get a little healthier and a little more ready for a tough.
And then once all the brackets have finally been released, we're going to talk about who has the toughest road as a number 1 seed. Again, we're going to be doing our own bracket thing in a little bit, and I'll make that right now actually as we kind of continue talking about it. So far so good. I think the Gonzaga Bulldogs actually have a pretty good side. Again, looking at the side for the Gonzaga Bulldogs, I know I have a lot of Bulldog fans in this channel. I don't think Boise State's going to be too much of a challenge. I honestly think Memphis is going to win this game. I like the way that Memphis has been playing. I know Amani Bates has been a little bit of a disappointment so far in his freshman year, but I don't expect a 17-year-old to dominate in any college sport unless they are, a LeBron-esque type of player, and that's just not the case with Emoni Bates. And again, it's going to take Emoni Bates time to kind of get in there in terms of an NBA draft prospect that I will be looking forward to looking at in the future. But in terms of a team, I do like Jalen Duren, man. That kid has a motor, and that kid can block shots better than any player I've ever seen before. Really in the NBA, like Rudy Gobert does a good job, but I just feel like this guy is just more athletic than Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert may be taller and longer, but the athleticism of Duren is going to make teams very uncomfortable when it comes to looking at things for whether they move on. They're obviously, I think they're going to do a good job against Boise State, and if they move on to Gonzaga, that'll be a great matchup as well. See how Chet Holmgren can face against Jalen Duren. I watched a little bit of the New Mexico State. The Aggies. I'm not really sold on them yet. I need to watch a little bit more film on them. Uconn Huskies. They've always are in this conversation each and every year. This year more in particular because a couple of years ago, they kind of struggled a little bit. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the Huskies as well. I think this is going to be a toss-up matchup as well. And then you got Arkansas versus Vermont. I think Arkansas is going to win this game. Arkansas I think that they are just too good right now. It's one of the SEC schools that I really like this year. I think that they're going to be doing a job. And then you got Alabama, again, taking on one of the first 4-in teams. I'm not convinced with Alabama this year. I think that they've struggled to be consistent, and with the way that they run their offense with emotion, it just doesn't seem very cohesive. It doesn't seem like there's some unity in that team, and so I think they're going to be a team that goes on to the next round but then loses. They'd obviously have to take on Texas Tech or Montana State. I got the Red Raiders in that game. I think they're going to do a job, and then of course you got Michigan State Davidson. I got Davidson there, and then you got Duke CS Fullerton. I got Duke in that matchup. And so, I don't know. I'm at a loss, or I'm torn between what team is going to come out of this side. Like, obviously, I have Gonzaga. When we do a tournament thing, I'll probably do a live reaction or a live thing talking about it. And so, we'll see there. I think looking at this side of the bracket for Arizona, I think Arizona also got a favorable bracket because it doesn't seem like there's not a lot of great teams in this side compared, I would say, to this team or to the West region. Obviously, Arizona going to be the top seed. They look very good this year. Like I said, they are one of my heavy favorites this year. Just the way that they play, the style of play, and they finally have gotten everything together. Again, my concern about them is their backup guard play. Once, those guys are in foul trouble like they were in the Pac-12 tournament, they struggled a little bit, and UCLA gave them kind of a run for their money. And so we'll see what happens there. I want to watch a little bit more of Chattanooga after Anderson talked about them a little bit. I do want to watch them a little bit more and kind of figure out what's their gimmick, what did they run, what's their offensive playbook. So we'll take a look at that, I think, at some point this week. I'll probably take a look at it after we're done watching this and just seeing, is Chattanooga the real deal? Because, he has Chattanooga going far. Like I said, Michigan, a very disappointing year this year. Not really what they were looking forward to after last year, making it so far and now having to come as the 11th seed. Again, they don't really have that hard. I mean, obviously Tennessee is going to be a tough matchup. Loyola Chicago going to be a tough matchup. Villanova going to be a tough matchup. But I do like what I'm seeing from the Tennessee Volunteers. I think they also have a great team as well, and so we'll see what happens. I'm not sure if it's going to play. Maybe it's not. All right, good. I just want to make sure it doesn't play so that way I don't get copyright stricken. That's kind of my goal here for this stream. And maybe as we're watching this, maybe what we can do is we can take a look at some office. I'll have YouTube up in the background getting ready.
The allure of the NCAA tournament, the fans and the flavor, which we expect to be in full force once again this year. We're halfway through our 68-team tournament field. We begin the second half of our reveal of the brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champion Coca-Cola Zero Sugar with the lower right quadrant, the third overall #1 seed in the Midwest, the Kansas Jayhawks.
The Jayhawks, okay. Jayhawks are the #1 seed.
First #1 seed since 2016.
Okay, this game is up and loaded. We're gonna watch this a little bit later, but we're gonna look at the tournament right now.
Third most all time.
Let's see here. So the Jayhawks are
who will they meet?
Who are they going to face?
Another
first four game. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Texas Southern versus Texas A&M.
Athletic Conference. Texas Southern beat top seed Alcorn State.
Interesting. So it's going to be
A&M Corpus
all in
Christi.
Texas.
The Islanders defeated Southeastern Louisiana
the
in
Islanders.
the Southland Tournament title. Moving on, third seed out of the Mountain West is the number 8 seed in the Midwest, the Aztecs.
We got
San Diego
State.
Reached the Mountain West tournament.
See what else we
final.
got. Maybe I'll leave it here so you guys can hear it.
Number 9 seed Creighton Blue Jays, the fourth.
The Blue Jays
so
again. I will. Let me move
they
this over so you guys can see it.
Before losing to Villanova. First and second round games in Buffalo on Thursday and Saturday. The 6th team out of Big Ten is the Iowa Hawkeyes.
The Hawkeyes. Arizona equals Gonzaga's a little better. They can't beat us.
Iowa won its first Big Ten tournament title since 2006.
Wow, that's crazy. So Richmond won the AC 10 tournament, and they got the 12 seed. Then you got Providence taking on South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, and you got LSU, who just fired their coach, by the way, so you guys can kind of take a look.
To win the Atlantic 10 tournament championship, back to the big dance for the first time since 2011.
Let's see here.
From the Big East, the Providence Fires.
Now the Providence Fires, the Friar Monks.
Big East Coach of the Year. Providence won
Let's see who they're going to take on. They're going to take on Providence going to take on South Dakota State. You got LSU versus Iowa State, the Cyclones, and you got Wisconsin. Shout out to my boy Josh, Wisconsin, the Henny Badges. They're going to take on Colgate again. We looked at some Colgate stuff, our coaching staff for high school, and we like some of the burn cuts that they do. Essentially, they just make those cuts that aren't, they're supposed to be like, death by 1,000 cuts type of cuts where they just cut all the time as action's going on the opposite side. So again, it's going to be a fun matchup. You got USC taking on Miami, Florida.
The 4th team out of the SEC, the LSU Tigers, are the number 4 seed. LSU began this season 12.
Again, I am very curious to see how LSU does without their head coach because he got fired. I'm not convinced with that team. I'm just going to keep it. I'm just going to keep it a buck.
Cyclones, one of 4 teams with 9 quad 1.
I think that's Iowa State's game to lose. That's got to be Iowa State's game to lose. Like, you cannot lose a game where they have a new head coach. So to me is a free one. Like, that's the one I'm picking. Like, there's no way that you're losing as Iowa State when you have all the momentum of the coaching staff and everything else. There's no way that you're losing that game. And then we got Auburn versus Jacksonville State as the 16 seed. Or sorry, I don't know if that's the 15 seed or 16 seed. But they are going to be playing Auburn. Again, this could be a fun matchup. I mean, we get Auburn over to the side. You get Wisconsin there. I mean, you could get a Wisconsin-Auburn matchup, and that'd be a fun one to watch.
Greenville, South Carolina. These will be Friday, Sunday games. Out of the Pac-12,
some Friday, Sunday games. I'm
not
sure if I'm a fan of Sunday for NCAA tournament. I understand that they got to fit as many games as they can, but I just don't like the idea that they're playing on Sunday.
The 3rd team out of the ACC, the Hurricanes of Miami, coached by Jim Larinaga.
Gonna listen a little bit.
The ACC preseason poll, they finished 4th, 23-10 on the year. The Miami Hurricanes, and rounding out the number 2 seed.
Yeah, Russ brought up a good point. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure if it was Russ or if it was PM here. Russ. Russ talking about USC as a 7th seed. I agree. Like, when I look at this team, when I look at the I want to look at these tournaments again. Let's see here. Let's go NCAA men's basketball.
Who they're going to play? The 15th seed out of the Atlantic Sun, the Gamecocks of Jacksonville State.
I just want to look at the standings there really quick.
Atlantic Sun tournament winner, Bellarmine not eligible. It's in the middle of a transition to Division I, so the regular season champ.
Oh, that's what I was going to talk about as well. Like USC, I mean, they were 3rd in the conference. Again, they were 14-6. I don't know.
Auburn better be paying attention and ready to play.
So one of the first things that jumps out at me is a potential 2nd-round matchup between Providence and Iowa. We talk about Iowa. Can you defend? Can you be physically and mentally tough? Providence will test them, and that game, if it happens, is in Buffalo. I would like the Friars in that one.
Yeah, I hear you there, and I'm looking at that matchup as well because South Dakota State is so high-powered offensively. 87 points a game. I'm looking at LSU and Iowa State. Both of those teams started really, really well, and then conference play beat them up a bit. Which one of these teams finds a way to reignite?
I agree with him.
In the tournament.
It's just like I don't think it's gonna be LSU. LSU losing your coach. Like, I don't care who you are. You could be the #1 team. Like, again, not because a coach is so important that they're like the end all be all. I understand when it comes to college basketball, you know, coaches kind of reign supreme because they like the control of, you know, running the show, like making sure that players are running. Like, you know, I think that, you know, to me, it's not about that. To me, it's about, like, you know, uniting under one person to kind of get themselves going. Again, I'm just going to watch a little bit of Chattanooga State offense. Again, they're the team in white, and just seeing what they run here. Just want to see what they run. So pick and roll. I mean, again, they're going to have different sets. Ooh, one more pass. Okay. Okay. Kind of leave that weak side wide open. That weak side is wide open. We can't hear them. Are they still talking?
That's the exercise bike newbie.
Oh, sorry, Sean. No, I'm not talking to anybody, Sean. I was more so talking about just what was I talking about? I think I was just talking more so about the situation at LSU, or just Russ talking about the 7th seed for USC. You know, third in the Pac-12. Again, I don't know what reigns or what holds more value in the Pac-12, or like if the Pac-12 holds any value. And I understand like Arizona is like end all be all, but then after that, you know, it's kind of a toss up and a matchup of, you know, which player or which person do you like more. Again, I'm just watching a little bit of Chattanooga State because, again, this guy talked about them being a very offensive powerhouse. Again, they leave that they're pretty packed in when it comes to here. Again, you know, they're playing Furman in this SCON championship. Okay, they kind of have 13 as kind of the main perimeter guy. Like, that's the guy that they're going to run through the offense with. Again, dribble handoff. There, try to get a low touch. Again, this might be a situation when you look at it from a Chattanooga standpoint. Again, they are, let's see what they do on defense for the screens here. Ball screens, they're staying under, and they're going to have the guy fight over, kind of like I would say, I don't know if he meant to hedge or switch, but basically they're going to have the big man stay really under, and not really try to come out as much. So, again, this is going to be a fun matchup here. Again, more dribble handoffs to a screen here, looking for they're looking to get post-ups in there, so we'll continue to monitor the situation when it comes to Chattanooga. They're not a team that screams to me that they're going to be like this crazy offensive team. Again, who are they taking on here? Chattanooga taking on, like I said, I think Illinois is beatable. I think they have a chance to get dethroned in the first round. Again, Illinois has kind of started off a little bit hot, but I think ever since Ayo DeSumo left and that whole group left, they're trying to rekindle and recapture that momentum that they once had before. But again, I'm not too convinced with it. And again, to walk you guys through the bottom game so far, we got Texas Southern versus Texas A&M CC. I don't know if that's community college or not. Then you got Wright State versus Bryant, and then you got Rutgers versus Notre Dame. And I think this is gonna be a fun one. I think this is gonna be actually a fun, I would say, NCAA tournament.
Welcome back, everyone. 3 brackets
Let's see.
down, 1 to go.
We got one side left, and then we can talk about what's going on. Here we go. We got some already. So Baylor, surprisingly, Baylor is another #1 seed. I was not convinced with Baylor, man. I'm still not convinced with Baylor. I'm surprised that they're the #1 seed.
East region. First and second round games, Fort Worth, Texas. Thursday, Saturday, the Baylor Bears. Second time.
Not sure if I agree with this one.
Defending champions make it back-to-back years as the 1 seed.
Very impressive considering they had some injuries early on, had some new players coming into new roles, and still found themselves
26-6. Not saying that
Big 12 co-champions during the regular season and a dangerous team.
Who are they going to meet? Out of the Mid-Eastern Athletic,
Norfolk State. St. Mary's a 6 seed. Interesting.
Regular season title beat Coppin State in the
Yeah, I mean they deserve to get maybe not a 6 seed, Sean. I would probably say that they're a actually they probably deserve a 6 seed. I mean it's crazy that USC is a 7 seed. Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Out of the ACC,
You got North Carolina, Tar Heel Nation. There you go. They're an 8 seed.
Their 52nd NCAA tournament. They reached the ACC tournament semis before losing to Virginia Tech. They're going to go up against the Golden Eagles of Marquette. 6 team from the Big East. Coach Shaka Smart has now taken 3 different schools to the NCAA.
Marquette, okay. Shaka Smart, I forgot he's at Marquette now after not doing so well in Texas, and they kind of flamed out. You got St. Mary's as a 5 seed. Okay.
Second to Gonzaga during the regular season.
I mean, I think they deserved. They were a pretty good team. Like they played Gonzaga pretty well. To me, like that to me is a good one. Then you got Wyoming versus Indiana, first 4 in type of thing. This was a bubble team. Everybody, Wyoming was an interesting team because they were on the bubble. People were wondering if they were even going to get an invitation to this first 4 in. And then we'll kind of look at who the first 4 out were once this whole bracket is done. When we look at it, Sean, what do you think of St. Mary's in this side of the bracket? Do you like their chances of winning it, or do you like their chance of even Wyoming, Indiana? Interesting that the East region is playing in Portland, Oregon. Very interesting.
Indiana getting there means 9 Big Ten teams are in this tournament, and they did not have a good tournament last year.
All right, let's finish the top half of this bracket.
Let's see who's going to go.
Pac-12 is the UCLA.
Pac-12, we got UCLA.
They finished second.
Yeah, I mean they took a step behind. I think Johnny Juzang. I think he kind of took a little bit of a step back because I think people kind of now understand like his game. Not saying that he's a bad player or anything like that, but when you scout somebody a little bit more than like you would do in the tournament, it's just a whole lot different. And then you got Texas as a 6 seed.
Longhorns of Texas
Probably sounds about right.
Longhorns in scoring and rebounding and steals, and the Longhorns are the 6th team out of the Big 12. They'll go up against the 11th seed Hawkeyes of Virginia Tech. You know what they did? They won their first ACC tournament.
They got Virginia Tech winning their ACC tournament, so they automatically get a bid. It's interesting to see like where they rank, them in terms of where they put them in the conference.
All right, Seth. The 9th team out of the Big Ten. 9 teams out of the Big
Ten.
They
got Purdue.
The Boilermakers of Purdue, the number 3 seed. Coach Matt Painter's club, 27-7 on the year. I'm
sure Purdue is, would love that game back. I think Purdue honestly kind of blew their chances at a number 1 seed today. I think if they would have won today, I think they would have gotten the 1 seed. At least to me, like that's what it feels like. They'll take on Yale. They obviously won against Princeton today. Another good matchup. I think Yale is a good team. Like not saying that they're going to be an amazing team. I like them. We beat Texas. We UCLA and Texas by a lot, and they're on their side. Yeah, and then we got Murray State. Shout out to John Morant. They've kind of made themselves a staple name now in the NCAA tournament these last couple of years. Same thing as Loyola Chicago, a team that's trying to make their mark and trying to make their presence known in this NCAA tournament. Let's see what my friends are talking about here in their chat.
What they did all season long. Exactly.
Who do they go up against? The 3rd team out of the West Coast Conference.
They got the Dons, the elite Dons. You get me? Murray State versus San Francisco.
24 wins.
Now we got 3 WCC teams in there.
Up in that one, Seth, the Racers and the Dons, boy, 4 outstanding.
Interesting
guards.
indeed.
Bouye and then Tevin Brown, the headliners in the backcourt for those respective teams.
That was a long wait to see their name come up. They were nervous and they can exhale. Well done.
Meanwhile, the number 2 seed in the East.
Let's see who gets the number 2 seed. We got Kentucky.
6th team out of the SEC. Your chance to watch Oscar Tshiebwe work. He leads the nation.
Let's see the bracket for, and they'll take on St. Peter's, who won their game. Actually, I can't remember if it was last night or in the morning. They won their game. St. Peter's, the Peacocks, St. Peter Peacocks. And again, the first 4 in game, of course, like I said, Wright State versus Bryant. That's for the South region. You got Rutgers, Notre Dame for the West region. You got Wyoming, Indiana for the East, and then in the Midwest, you got Texas Southern versus Texas A&M CC.
So there you have it. Let's go back to the top of this region.
I'm curious to see
what you find.
I tell you what, with Wyoming, Indiana, I think whoever comes out of that game could actually
I'm trying to see who's going to be the first
next
4
round
out
against the St. Mary's team that's pretty solid.
I'm a little surprised to see Indiana seated this low. To me, the dangerous team in this side of the bracket is St. Mary's. I like them to beat UCLA. I like them to beat Baylor to get to the Elite Eight. That's 2 last year Final Four teams. And then you look at the bottom of this bracket. I think it's pretty clear sailing here for Kentucky, frankly. I've liked Murray State all season long, but I like Kentucky more.
Yeah, I do too. I like Kentucky to actually come out of that region.
Dang.
All right, guys, the 9 conferences.
All right, so here were the first 4 out.
In the field of 68, look like this. The Big Ten.
So again, to kind of reiterate how many bids there are, the Big Ten has 9, the Big East had 6, Big 12 had 6, SEC had 6, ACC had 5, Midwest had 4, West Coast had 3, Pac-12 had 3, the American had 2, and the Atlantic had 2. And the first 4 out, Dayton, teams on standby, replacement teams, Dayton, Oklahoma, SMU, and Texas A&M. Those were the first 4 out.
Now, should a conference champion from a single bid league need to withdraw, that conference will designate a team to fill their spot in the bracket. The deadline for replacement teams is tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time.
You got to, if a conference team's like, we don't want to play this tournament.
First round.
That's funny.
Once the tournament begins, any withdrawals will result in a no contest.
Very interesting.
That said, let's turn our attention back to
and then we got last 4 in, Indiana, Notre Dame, Rutgers, and Wyoming. The Wyoming one was very interesting because they were a team that a lot of people were looking at as like that team should have probably been in.
Is pretty much what I had. I had Notre Dame out of the field, and I had Xavier actually in the field, so I'm surprised they weren't in the first 4 out.
Interesting. No Xavier. I'm surprised SMU wasn't in there. Like
that Dayton was the first team out. I don't think a lot of people had that, Clark. I had Xavier and Notre Dame out, but I've always said if you're on the bubble, you can't complain.
That's exactly right.
Michigan is a surprise, though.
No, it is, but the strength of schedule. We know how the committee views strength of non-conference.
I'm just not a big fan of the Notre Dame pick in. Like they to me were not a team I was looking at. Obviously, I wasn't like looking profusely at like where's Notre Dame at? But I just wasn't. I didn't think that Notre Dame, from what I've seen, kind of watching highlights and also looking at some film at times, like they weren't a team that I was like, yes, this is a team that definitely should have been in there.
There's been so much talk, which the Big Ten has earned, about how they performed in the NCAA tournament. You got 9 teams in, guys.
Fair shot.
Time to show it.
All right.
Interesting.
Mind you,
yeah, I agree with that statement indeed that the announcer just made. The Big Ten has 9 teams in this tournament, right? We got 9 teams from the Big Ten, and this is a PSA to all coaches out there in the Big Ten. You got to let your players play. I understand you want to run your sets. I understand you want to run your defense. You want to muck it up, make it difficult for some people. But at the end of the day, you have to let the players play. Like, to me, you cannot be so rigid to where those Big Ten teams, like, I look at the team like Wisconsin when they were playing Michigan State. I just felt like it was so rigid, so structured, that there was no room, any wiggle room for those guys to go out and do their own thing. And that, to me, is the frustrating part. Again, I thought SMU was a pretty good team. I watched them play, during this tournament. I like them. Obviously, like they talked about, when you're a bubble team, you can't complain because you had ultimately every opportunity to get there. Regular season strength of conference. You also have this tournament play, and so if you're a bubble team, you kind of are at the fate of whatever the selection committee decides. And so, I again, when I look at this, I'm not totally shocked at what's going on here. Again, I think Gonzaga has a very winnable side when I look at it. I think people will disagree with me at times, but there's no excuses for the Gonzaga Bulldogs this year. I think that this is a very winnable side. Like, when I look at these teams again, like, their only tough opponent in the next round is going to be Memphis, who I think is going to win that game. I know Boise State, kind of a favorite in there, but I like Memphis a lot. Alabama can always, surprise people, but ultimately I think Texas Tech's going to get that game. You got Davidson, who I like. I think if they would have won their tournament today, I think they would have been a higher seed. I honestly think they would have avoided this side of the bracket, but because of the way it shook out, they obviously are in this side. Duke, CS Fullerton, again, I think it's going to come down to whether or not Duke can play together as a team by the time the end of this tournament. That has always been kind of my concern with a team like Duke. Not because their talent isn't there, is because they don't play together. They don't play like a team. They don't play like a unit. And that, to me, is a concern when it comes to if you're going to pick Duke winning this tournament this year, is just, are they not say disciplined enough, but are they going to, care about each other more? Are they going to, be with each other in terms of, kind of getting through this mess and, weathering the storm? Because, again, they should have been a number 1 seed. They should have been vying for a number 1 seed, but they lost too many games. And again, it comes down to, understandingly so, that Duke is a good team. But when you're on this side with Gonzaga, it's going to be a tough matchup, and we all know how that matchup ended up. And I think that once you play a team more than once, the coach is going to get ready for your movement. They're going to get ready for your stuff, and so we shall see. This is going to be a very fun, I would say NCAA tournament. Again, the reason why more so than ever is because of how open it is. Let's see here. What does Sean say? Hang on, Sean. Your chat's coming into the side here in just a second. Is Amani Bates one and done or no? No, he actually has one more year of eligibility left. He could go to the NBA G League and play for the Ignite team. But I think Amani Bates honestly needs 2 more years of college or college or G League. It doesn't matter what it is, but I think he's just a couple of years away from being like a pretty good player. The reason why I say that, Sean, is because when I look at Amani Bates, he's very inconsistent, and I think that he's a kid that obviously at such a young age, you need that growth from just being around older players to help you mature your game. And so I think if he's able to stay at Memphis, it would be nice. But I could see him going to the G League this year and just playing there, and then ultimately going into the draft at some point. I don't know, like when I look at it and when I see it all, because like I said, I like Longwood over Tennessee. Book it. Okay, Sean. Do you like do you like the SEC this year? Are you a big believer in the SEC? And as Sean's kind of answering that, if he will answer that in the chat, I am going to be putting in some things. Let's see here. Last 4 in: Rutgers, Notre Dame, Michigan, Texas A&M. Next 4 out, first 4 out. Like, what did you think of BYU? Should BYU have made the tournament? Nah, I think St. Mary's was too good this year to kind of make the tournament. Let's see here. Let's listen in to Tom Rinaldi. Tom Rinaldi. Let's listen in and see what they have to say. Let's see here. What do I want to do? Okay, I want to make a bracket really quick for everybody. Let's see here.
Murray State, really good. 7 seed out of the OVC, give Kentucky trouble if that's the matchup in the second round?
Darn right they will.
They can shoot it. They got a low post scorer in Williams. Obviously, Tevin Brown is a big-time shooter.
To be honest,
the
no,
little point guard is explosive.
Should not made it. What's up, guys? Checking in really quick between DoorDash.
Murray State
What's up,
is a
Justin?
very good team.
Justin, I hope you're doing well, man.
I think Kentucky, in terms of the speed that they play with the
I haven't been on in a little bit, but just hopefully you're doing well, man. Hopefully DoorDash is going well for you.
I actually like.
We're gonna be watching some great basketball.
Murray State, if they play a 7-game series, Kentucky wins in 5.
I will try my best to be.
State, like you mentioned,
depending on
Brown, like he's legit. And KJ Williams at 39 in a game against Tennessee State earlier this year. Justin Hill's really good. Like they're good, or Justice Hill, they're really good.
Early peak. Elite 8 matchup in the East, Kentucky and UCLA.
Pally.
How about that?
I don't want us to overlook, though. That's not going to be an easy win over San Francisco because Jamar Bouye and Shabazz are a really good backcourt combination, and they can really score it.
Bracketology presented by Lowe's. Last 4, first 4, Indiana, Notre Dame, Rutgers, and Wyoming, the committee's last team in. Dayton, Oklahoma, SMU, and I was going to bring this up. I wanted to go through the bracket and the teams that made it first, but you noticed immediately that Texas A&M did not make it. You have to pick a team that you would choose the Aggies over, but I'm surprised by that. Joe Lunardi, however, was not. He had the Aggies right on the cut line throughout the day.
Let's see what Joe Lunardi says, since he's the expert.
The SEC championship game, and Joe joins us now. So, Joe, what's your reaction, particularly at the end of the line, to the selections that the committee made?
Overall, I think we have to say that the committee hit the mark. Top to bottom, there's certainly plenty of nitpicking by those of us who, maybe otherwise need to get a life for the next 9 months. and I can certainly respect that. But when I look at it, yes, for me, it came down to Texas A&M and Wyoming. And maybe it was simply the recency of Texas A&M's run. I looked for a differentiator. I thought A&M's very best wins, including at the end, were better than Wyoming's. But I've seen Wyoming a number of times. They're very worthy. And I just kind of rebel when people say, this team deserved, this team deserved. Well, it's not about deserving. It's about having enough spots. And once Richmond took one of them, they deserved it, and somebody had to stay home.
Okay, look, pretty soon we're going to start.
So because of that Richmond game, because they won it,
on the court.
They kind of screwed over these other teams. I'm sure these other teams were pissed. But I mean, again, like you said, you gotta win your conference. You gotta be able to win.
Ever happened. But why was Tennessee only a 3 and seated behind Kentucky and Auburn?
The first thing I'll say is I get the frustration. I absolutely knew it was going to shake out this way.
Why?
Because these Sunday games, year after year after year, don't matter in terms of selection and seeding.
What about the Saturday game with Tennessee and Kentucky? They beat them 2 out of 3.
I understand that, but we're looking at a Tennessee team. They finished tied for second in the SEC, okay? And I just believe that the committee was not going to put them ahead of a Big East champion in Villanova. They were not going to put them ahead of Duke, certainly, even though you could argue resume from now until next season. I don't know. Everything on my board said they were a 3, and I listened to you guys all day, and I kept thinking, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And they certainly weren't going to be a 1. And look, I don't think we would move any of the teams off the 1 line for Tennessee.
Okay.
And then let me finish. 2-3, what are we really talking about here is the color jersey in the regionals.
But maybe not when the 2-15-3-14 games match up. But all of that aside, Joe, I do want to
sorry everybody that I'm just kind of typing really quick.
I understand that.
I'm just I'm going to create a group really quick of just if you guys want to make a bracket, you can. I'm just going to make a group and invite some people.
I've been aggregating metrics long before there was such a thing and long before there was the net. It's all classified, of course. But when you look at it,
right,
Sean, they came out about 20% in my overall aggregate rankings behind Auburn and Kentucky in terms of the season and their quality of their overall play. And I just haven't seen a team move that much within, kind of my indexing to jump 2 seed lines in a day or 2.
All right, Joe, great job as always. And I always like to point this out. Usually what we argue is what we think should happen. You do a terrific job of predicting what the committee will do, and you were spot on.
Okay, Sean, I sent you an invite. Just accept that one.
A pleasure. Thanks for being with us.
You bet. Thanks, guys. Good luck.
You too. Thanks, Joe.
Reset. You're spot on, but you're wrong.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say he was wrong.
I want to know what nitpicking is from a guy that's going to put a bracket out next week for next week.
John Calipari is going to join us. Big Blue has a matchup with St. Peter's coming up.
It is kind of interesting that they were a 2 seed when they won the NCAA tournament. Like again, like that to me is where I get confused with. Other than the fact that basically the conference tournament doesn't really matter as much as long as you win it. Right. So like, for example, like the Richmond Davidson, like that one had such a huge impact because we all knew that Davidson was going to get in there. But what made it even more. Yeah, I just sent it out, Sean. Check your email. I'm just sending out to other people that asked for it a while back. So I'm just going to be sending those out. It should be from the charge. And again, guys, if you are interested in the bracket, let me know. And you can put your email in the comment section or in the live chat. I'm going to be probably live streaming for another like 10 to 15 minutes. And then I will be kind of doing my own bracket at some point as well. And again, like the reason why I just talk about it just like from his logic and his standpoint, to me, it feels like the conference tournaments just don't matter as much. Like unless like a crazy team wins it, like for example, Tennessee, wasn't a team that was supposed to win it all, right? Or like I said, Richmond wasn't supposed to win their tournament, or trying to think of what other team was going to be in there as well. Like Rutgers, I believe, is playing in the Rutgers is in the West Conference, so they're going to be playing the winner of the Alabama, or they're going to be playing Alabama, so they are an 11 seed. They're going to be in this, I wish I had my pointer, but they're going to be in this, where Alabama, underneath Alabama. That's where they're going to be at. And so, I think this is going to be a very fun tournament, guys. Like I said, this is so up and down. So many big teams have lost throughout this year. It's going to be a battle of will and who's going to want it more and who's really going to be a team that kind of battles the adversity, right? We've seen these big teams go down and haven't handled the adversity. Not a single one. Like, not saying that they don't handle like certain adversities at times, but like for example, like Gonzaga, my worry about them, and I think my friends can vouch for me on that, is just their play after Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme are fouling out, like, or maybe not fouling out, but they're in foul trouble. Their backup is Watson, who's not really a traditional big. He's more of like a stretch four, if that. And so like when I look at that and I see those situations, those to me is what concerns me about this team going forward. Baylor, a team that, I think struggled with a lot of injuries. They're trying to make their way back, but is it going to be enough for them to kind of overcome when they have to play like a team like Kentucky? Again, to be honest with you, I think Baylor's path is pretty, I would say, light compared to others. Kansas also has a pretty light path as well. Actually, Kansas has a tougher path. I'm sorry. I just saw the Auburn. They got to play Wisconsin. Like there's a tough road. And then Arizona as well. I think if I had to go easiest to hardest, I think I would go Baylor number 1 is the easiest, Arizona number 2, Kansas number 3. Yeah, I'll go Gonzaga number 3, and then Kansas number 4, because I just think when I look at this side of the bracket, there's a lot of tough teams here. You have potentially number 1 teams in Auburn on this side of the bracket as well, and so I think it's just hard to pick out and find like which person
Mondays on NBC.
Who you're going to be facing in this tournament. So
ESPN
again, I just don't see it when it comes to in terms of easy to the hardest. I think Gonzaga has one of the easier or one of the hard. I mean, what I say? I said Baylor, Arizona, Gonzaga. Like they have the third hardest. I mean, it's just in the middle of the pack. Again, they should be able to beat these teams. Like you should be able to beat Duke. You should be able to beat Michigan State. And you obviously should be able to beat Memphis. But like I said, that matchup in the next round, if that's the matchup, Gonzaga versus Memphis is going to be a very tough matchup.
My favorite tournament moment actually has blossomed to 2 now. The first one would have been 1998 when my brother hits the famous buzzer beater against Ole Miss. Right for the win! Go!
Interesting. I didn't know
but now you got to add Baylor's first national championship. Hopefully there's more.
I loved watching Kemba Walker play.
We all remember that Kemba Walker series, the one where he crossed over the big fella. That was probably the best matchup. And again, I think Texas, Chris Beard, I would say, Shaka Smart obviously had a disappointing run there. And, you could see it and just be looking like,
in the East, 17
you could obviously give up and just be like, we'll see in a couple years if we can get Texas back to where it's at. But I think this coach has done a really good job so far with Texas. Again, they're not where they need to be as of yet, but I think they're working on it. And I think they'll get there at some point. And so we'll see, man. Like I said, this is going to be a fun NCAA tournament series. Let me know in the comment section down below who you guys have as your biggest winners. And again, if you guys do want to join the NCAA, I will be posting it. Let me see if I can post a link in the chat so you guys can join. I'm not sure if there's trying to see if there's like a postable link.
So the Cats, and I'm sure Big Blue Nation will travel the short distance to Indianapolis to see Big Blue open against St. Peter's, the champions of the Metro Atlantic. St. Peter's, the Peacocks, having won their last 7 games, and then the winner of Murray State and San Francisco away. Pleased to be joined by John Calipari, the head coach of the Wildcats. So, John, 2C, pleased with that?
Let's see here. I got 3. Do I have 2 people in here?
I was trying to keep our team focused on our little pocket there. But I thought we played well enough. We, the tournament, we hit a hot team in Tennessee, and I kind of screwed up. We didn't do a shoot around. My gut said, we got to go shoot around. We've done it all year, and we don't go shoot around. And we have some of the guys play as bad as they played, and a lot of it was Tennessee.
I wish you guys could see Calipari's background. I think he's got his 2 daughters and his son in the background, just like, I don't know what they are, like fat heads.
Together, they're a great teammates, which makes this fun. I'm having fun every day. I walk in the gym, whether I'm coaching.
Again, maybe what I should do here is just my initial bracket and show you guys what I think I'm initially going to pick. Let's see here. Tournament teams will be selected in 1 hour. Let's see here. So I can't fill it out yet. Oh, I thought I could. Nope, invite friends. Let's see if it has. Nope. Thought I created it, but maybe I didn't. So I think that's gonna not say that's gonna do it here for the chart in terms of NCAA tournament. I think that's gonna do it here for college basketball. But I did want to talk really quick about some NBA news and rumors. So let's really quickly go into some NBA news and rumors before we get going here. I did want to talk a little bit about. Let's see, what can we talk about here? I think a big one for me is probably going to be, this one, just because I have him on my fantasy team. Anthony Davis set to return sometime soon. So Lakers big man Anthony Davis is making his progress towards a return. Speaking on NBA Countdown, ESPN insider Adrian Wojnarowski said Davis is clearing the necessary hurdles to play again this season. His walking boot is off, and I'm told this week he's going to step up and is going to be on the court and starting to do some stationary shooting. 16 games left. I don't see him playing this season, unfortunately. I think that when it comes to Anthony Davis, I think, there may be an outside chance that he plays like the last 6 games, but when you got 16 games left, you just can't risk Anthony Davis getting hurt. And that to me is the problem with the fact that, they just haven't really nurtured Anthony Davis to the point where, he's stopped dealing with these injuries. I mean, you got to start protecting your players, and the Lakers just haven't done that. I don't know. I'm not convinced right now with where the Lakers are at to be like, yes, this Lakers team is going to be absolutely dominant. I like what I'm seeing from them. And so I don't know. I'm just not, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced with them so far. So we'll see about that. Again, like this is just kind of quick news and rumors. Again, shout out to Greg Popovich, Coach Pop. He said the all-time NBA coaches win record, winning his 1,336th game. Obviously, Don Nelson had wins more than him at the time, but now Greg Popovich overtook him for most wins by an NBA coach. And that's, it just is, it shows you a testament to like Greg Popovich, just kind of like finding a team, building around his system, building around, the players that he likes, and, not really falling for, he's like, I would say that he's a Spurs culture guy. So like you can see that, he created the culture there for the San Antonio Spurs, and the Spurs have followed that culture. They followed that timeline, and, you see how beautiful it looks right now with the way that they're playing, with the way that, they have been these last 20 years playing as a unit, right? From the 2000s, winning that championship, to winning in 2003, and then I think winning in 2007, and then the 13s. I think, like I said, Greg Popovich, great guy, all around great coach, and it's awesome to see that he won that game. And then moving on, again, Jamal Murray, another guy that I have on my fantasy basketball team. He is now 11 months clear of tearing his ACL, but isn't quite ready to return to hit the court. I just don't think that he's going to return and hit the court anytime soon. It's going to be very tough. I mean, he's just coming back from it. I think he's going to be doing a lot of recovery stuff, and I just don't think they want to push it. Like, I understand that the Nuggets right now are on a quest to win their championship or to at least try to contend this year, but I just don't see it without Jamal Murray being healthy, because I think that they're missing a piece or two. And, especially you need, Michael Porter Jr. for the amount of money that you paid him, you need him out there on the court. And so we'll see what happens in that situation. Again, I wish that he was healthy, but I think they're going to take their sweet time with him and not try to force anything when it comes to a Jamal Murray return. And I think we got Markieff Morris return after a 4-month incident with a whiplash. And this is, of course, after delivered a hard foul to Jokic. Jokic was reacted by shoving Marcus to the floor. Both players, I think, were given, or at least Morris was given a flagrant 2. Jokic gave a technical foul. He's been out. Morris has been out since Jokic did that to him. And, we obviously know about the Jokic brothers and what they were doing and what they were trying to troll Morris with, both Morris twins. So, again, we'll see what happens in that situation. And then, of course, you got Caruso returns from a broken wrist for the Bulls. That's going to be huge. They're still missing a ton of players from injury, and that's the thing that sucks so far about everything is that when you have a guy in Caruso who's doing so well, who's a guy that can give you everything that you need him to, he's out, and then now you have Lonzo Ball out. It just doesn't spell a recipe for success. And so we'll see what goes on from there. And I think in terms of the Trailblazers, they obviously have Anthony Simons out. I just think that it's going to be an end of the year thing for the Trailblazers. I think they're just done. They're waiting for next season, and they're waiting to try to I'm trying to think of the right word. I think they're just trying to get a low draft pick so they can start rebuilding from the draft. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it here for The Charge. Thank you once again for joining us here, bringing you the latest NBA news and rumors and also NCAA college bracket opinions as well. Again, we're going to go into more detail about it. I'm going to do a live stream about my tournament pick once the brackets are live and able to do it. It could be tomorrow, depending on what time I get back. Excuse me, but I would love to talk about that with you guys because I think it would be fun to talk some NCAA and kind of get you guys ready and see who you guys think will win this NCAA tournament. But with that being said, thank you once again for joining. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace out and good luck to your brackets. And again, let me know if you want to join our brackets and I will send that out to you ASAP.